To kickstart my 2023 year of racing, I decided super last minute to join a local 50k race to challenge myself not only at the physical aspect of racing ultras, but the mental component too. Having not run a single mile in over 3 months, my goals for today were to power walk the entire 32-mile course, still hoping to finish within cutoff. Well, good morning everybody, and welcome to the start of the 2023 MST 50k race. I'm here at the Rolling View Recreational Area right here at Falls Lake, which is right behind me. We're about 15 minutes away from the start of this race and the start of my 2023 racing calendar. So I've got a few interesting things planned for today. Frankly, I have not run at all since December, so it'll be pretty difficult for me to get through today. So I'm going to take you guys along and show you all about what's about to happen. So hope you stick around and follow me throughout my journey. My headline's just about dead. 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go! Alright, good luck, Candace.
Good luck, Stat. See you on the other side, man. Strong start, guys. Strong. Oh, wow.
Alright, welcome everyone to the first little bit of the MST 50k, where my intentions today are to walk the entire course. Right now I'm just over 1 mile in. We started about 15 minutes ago and started on the road here, and I've just switched into the trails. So it's gonna be a long day, it's gonna be a hard day, but that is what I'm here for. It's been way too long since I have pushed myself out of my comfort zone, and really just want to take you guys along with my plans for today, and perhaps at the very least provide some motivation to some of you who may be considering a long race in the future or are actively training for a big race. So we're gonna get things rolling and I will check in soon. So without getting too far into the video just yet, I wanted to point out and describe the reason why I decided to jump into this race last minute. So I've done a lot of really tough, really hard races, whether it's the distance, like my first 100 miler last year, or the difficult stages of like the Manitou's Revenge 54-mile race, or the 50-mile race, Shadows of the South, where I basically collapsed due to the heat about 20 miles from the finish. And so the main reason for today, deciding to walk this entire 50k, is specifically for that mental training, to switch off that gear in my mind that wants to quit and just give it everything I've got when the race starts to get tough. So often in super long, super hard, tough races, you get to that point where your body has been pushed past its limit and the only thing you can do is walk. There might be still a considerable amount of time and distance left of the race, and sometimes in those moments you just have to really dig deep and really want it. And in order to finish those races in those moments, you have to be okay with walking, with power walking, with hiking. So today is just meant to specifically replicate the last 15 or 20% or 30% even of super hard, super tough races that are definitely going to come up in my future. And this is meant as training my mind for all of those. I'm gonna be taking you guys along and providing some tips, tricks, and advice for any of you who have been in that situation before or are currently training for one of those situations to come. The first tip I'm actually gonna mention is weather and how to dress for the conditions. So right now it's about 45, 48 degrees, slightly overcast on a chilly March morning. And typically, if I was racing this race, running it for time, I would dress considerably different than how I am now. Right now I've got on a long sleeve shirt, a windbreaker jacket, and I actually have some gloves on because it's important to realize during those times in hard races when you're not moving as quick or you've been up all night, your body gets cold much more easily than if you were fresh and running a hard race. So when you're packing for your 100-miler or 50-miler, take into consideration the weather temperature differences and pack accordingly, because it's always better to pack too much stuff and leave it in a drop bag if you don't need it than be cold throughout the race and potentially have that contribute ultimately to a DNF. So my next 100-mile ultramarathon tip for you guys is to train the walk. If you don't necessarily train your walking muscles ahead of the race, that will be much more difficult to come to terms with on race day. So walking requires a lot different muscles and a lot more stress on different parts of your body than running does, and you'll be surprised, as I was when I trained my walk for my 100-miler last year, how much more difficult it is. So I encourage you guys, if you're training for a big mountainous long race perhaps, to swap out some of your long runs with long walks. Not necessarily the same distance as you would go for your long run, but aim to go for about the same time. What I would do is 2 to 3 hour long walks, sometimes training for my 100-miler, and I would also throw in a lot of run walk intervals. So I would plan to do like 15 or 20 miles, but at a 1/2 mile walk and a 1/2 mile run, and just do repeats of that for 15 to 20 miles. That really gets your legs used to the muscles required and things to walk as opposed to run. All right, so we are 1 hour into this race. I'm at 3.9 miles, so just about right in line with what I was hoping for, of about 4 miles per hour. The course is super muddy and wet in a lot of spots, so it's kind of difficult to navigate. I've been slipping around for quite some time on a lot of sections, having to find the best possible route, or in this case, like, have to hop across larger crossings and things. So it's gone well so far, but we still have a long way to go. All right, so we just hit 5 miles into the race, just about a marathon to go. I'm still feeling okay. It's pretty difficult to just keep to my plan and walk the entire thing, but that's what I set out to do today, and so that's what will be done. How have you been, Banks?
Good, man. Here, just take those
Sweet.
Those are a little over 200 milligrams a piece, non-caffeinated.
Gotcha.
So, thanks, need, brother.
The whole thing?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I promise I won't need them today, but you might.
I'll be out here for a long time. All right, so here we are on this bridge. We're about 5.3 miles in. Just ran into Banks, who I met at Roaring Gap, the race that I filmed for Richard and Dirty Wolf Ultras. Go. Alright, we're on this narrow wooden path here with people passing on both sides. Trying not to fall in. Now we are working our way back. Okay, so actually, I screwed up. So the 10 milers were supposed to turn at that turnaround. I turned and was not supposed to, so I just added about 1.5 miles to the 50k. So now it's going to be even more of a challenge to finish within cutoff. Oops. All right, what's going on, everyone? So we're about 7.5 miles in. I'm going to take you to a new tip dealing with the sacrifice. So as you just heard, I took a wrong turn. I turned around too soon and went almost a mile the wrong way before I got back onto the 50k course. But what I thought was going to be a difficult day to beat cutoffs now became even more difficult, because my race has now become like 34 miles in 10 hours versus 32, but I'm still sticking to my plan and walking, and there's a pretty good potential now for me to DNF, to finish the course outside of the 10-hour cutoff time. So I really got to dig deep and really have to push my walking pace and my mindset that this might be my first DNF ever. But I think it's important to realize sometimes in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve, you have to sacrifice some things that might be a bitter pill to swallow. So stay tuned until the end and see if I can finish all 34 miles within a 10-hour cutoff. So it's gonna be close. So just one more thing I wanted to add on the topic of sacrifice. I just wanted to point out, like, don't ever let the threat or thought of coming in last deter you from what your goals are, because last place is still a place, whereas a DNF, you don't even get a place. So if you're fighting cutoffs, or if you're back of the packer and you are closing in on a race and you know you're going to be last place, just don't even think about it being last. Just keep your head up, keep moving forward, and don't let that deter you from achieving what you want, because ultimately, like what I'm planning to do today, it's going to benefit me for the future. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to prove to anybody besides myself, when things get tough, I'm tougher. Hey guys, so real quick, I just wanted to take a second and ask you guys if you've been enjoying what you've been watching so far, if you're getting anything out of this video so far, please go ahead and click that button right down below and subscribe to my channel for me. It takes just but a second on your end, and it really helps me out. It really keeps me motivated to keep pushing myself, doing hard things, recording races, filming for you guys. It is a lot of effort to take a camera out and record, so a subscription from you would really be awesome. So I've got a lot more stuff to talk about with you guys on this video, so keep watching and I will check in with you soon. Okay, so I'm approaching the first major aid station, which brings me to my next ultramarathon tip on how to minimize wasted time stopped at aid stations. So it's always a good thing to keep an eye on exactly how long you spend stopped, because especially for longer races, this stop time eventually can add up to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour if you're not careful. And so if you're in a position like I am right now, fighting the final cutoff, still with about 20 miles to go, I have to make sure I don't waste any time at this next aid station. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, I've got an empty bottle on my right side here. So if you've got two bottles, especially if they're the same type of drink, whether it's water or any recovery or fueling powder, I always like to finish one before starting on the other. And then when I get to the aid station, depending on how much I've consumed of the one that either is fully emptied or not quite emptied all the way, I chug the rest of what's in that bottle and quickly fill up both bottles. You'll see me grab some food real quick, eat and walk, and really try to minimize the amount of time stopped, because as you can see, this course is super muddy, super slick, which is causing me to go a little bit slower than what I had planned on going. It's definitely taking more out of my legs to keep up the walking pace that I had planned on. So I'll check in a little bit when I get to the aid station, and you'll see how quick in and out hopefully I should be. Howdy. Alright, thank you. Okay, so I'm starting to see a lot of the 50k runners on their way back. The course is a strict out and back, which you might be asking, how did I get lost? But I just turned around too soon, so it's really cool seeing everybody. I was by myself for a long time after I got back on the right course, so it's really cool to see all these people coming back. They don't know the story, they don't know my background or anything, and it's just awesome to hear them all cheering each other on. Nice job, thank you. All right, this is kind of cool. There's some like old cars out scattered in the woods over here. I don't know how they got there or how long they've been here, but it's a pretty neat sight to see on the MST. Well, now my shoes are clean, but my feet are completely soaking wet. Oh well. All right, we are 15 miles into the race, coming up on the second aid station and turnaround, halfway point. It's gonna be a little bit more than one more mile because I made that premature turn earlier in the race. Right now I am at just about 4 hours and about 15.5 miles. So, just made it back into the woods for the last little bit until the turn.
Heading back into the woods this final time before the turnaround, the course became much more flooded with mud than the first half. Some sections were nearly 1/10 of a mile long without a single dry step in between.
Man, this mud is killing me. It is so hard to move through here. And so much of the course is like this, which is making me move slower than what I hoped to be moving at. Just keep moving forward, I guess. One foot in front of another. You know what I did?
What?
I turned at the freaking 10-mile turnaround and went like a mile the other way.
Into the swamp.
Huh?
I said you're about to enter the swamp.
I just came from the swamp. All right, good seeing you. Keep it up. All right, my watch just hit 18 miles. Coming up on the turnaround spot. Finally get to head back. Thank you. I'm doing great. It's just the course, so much of the course is flooded and underwater.
What do you got there, a GoPro?
Yeah, I'm recording the race. All right, so if you're still watching this video by this point in time, I've just now turned around on the course. I'm at just over 18 miles, and now I work my way all the way back to where I started. I'm in last place, as I knew I was, which means the entirety of this way going back, I will not see anybody. It's taken me 4 hours and 30 minutes to get to the turnaround. This is where the mental side of things start kicking in, because I'm out by myself, no pacer. I'm deciding to do this with no music, no other external stimulants, like really trying to drive home the mental barrier that I'm trying to teach myself when things get really hard, to just keep grinding it out no matter what. It's gonna be a long next 4 hours, but I'm here to do it. So I'm happy to bring you guys along with me. Okay, here we are about 20.5 miles in at another one of the boat ramps along the Mountains to Sea Trail. We've got, I don't know, maybe 15 miles to go, 14, 15 miles to go. So I've been by myself for a while. It's super muddy, wet, and disgusting, but I think it's really gonna start kicking in here in a few miles of what this actually means to walk 31, or in my case 34, or whatever it will be, miles. And it takes a lot of mental willpower to put yourself through that. So we're getting it done, but you know, things are slowly starting to hurt. My feet hurt. My every step I take, I kind of like slide around a whole bunch, so my ankles and calves are really getting a good workout. And because I haven't run or trained anything in such a long time, my muscles are just not used to this. So I'll check in later. I've got one more aid station, and then after that point, 11 more miles to the finish. All right, what's going on? So here we are with another training tip, or racing tip, for long ultramarathons, especially at the end, towards the end, when you're feeling your worst. Sometimes it's very easy, too easy, to negate your nutrition. So I'm guilty of it too. I know, like, the last 5, 8, sometimes even 10 miles of a race, I'm so focused on putting forth my best output effort, and I forget to continue to fuel my body to support that level of output. Sometimes it's really, really difficult when you're pushing to your all out. If you're breathing heavy, if you're running a lot harder than you were typically at the beginning of the race, to still maintain your caloric intake and keep the calories coming in. So this race, I was planning on the conservative end of 9 to 10 hours worth of work. I knew that this effort was going to be less than what I typically would output for a typical race. So my goal for this race was to maintain about 200 calories per hour. So in my pack I had about 1,200, maybe 1,300 total, and then supplementing with additional stuff like peanut butter and jelly and all that good stuff from the aid stations. So right now we are about 5.5 miles in. I haven't exactly kept track of the total number of calories I've consumed so far, but we are nearing the back half. Well, definitely in the back half of the race now, nearing towards the end here in a few hours. So I just got to keep up my caloric intake and make sure that that does not slip, because if you don't remember to eat, then finishing up your race will be very, very difficult. Okay, here we are walking one of the road sections of the MST. So the MST kind of borders Falls Lake right through here in North Carolina. And so every now and then we've got these road stretches. They're not usually that long, maybe a quarter mile at most. And they basically take you over flooded areas of the lake on the bridges and overpasses for vehicular traffic. So you can see here's kind of the view of the Falls Lake on that side, and then behind me on the other side. So we'll pop back here into the woods for the next several miles. I think there's one more of these left on the course.
After about 23 miles of mud-soaked shoes, I was really starting to feel the effects of the day so far. My feet had been hurting for a while by this point, and my legs were becoming increasingly more tired. On top of everything so far, the fact of still having so much of the course left ahead of me was starting to take its toll. All I could do at this point was keep moving forward and click these muddy miles off one step at a time.
Okay, so I'm just over 23 miles done. I'm still averaging about 15 minutes and 30 seconds per mile. But each step, each mile is getting increasingly difficult. One of the main drawbacks of walking versus running is that you have to take so many more steps in the same given distance than you do when you're moving faster. So right now my feet are kind of bothering me. The mud and them being soaked for this whole time is definitely not helping at all. I just had to cross a big creek actually, and my shoes like filled with sand. I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna stop and try and empty all of the sand out of my shoes. I have the little gaiters on, so it's a bit of a hassle trying to change my shoes. You have to take the gaiter off, take your shoe off, put the gaiter back on, or put your shoe back on, and then put the gaiter back on. So we'll see. I think I'll be okay. I lathered my feet up pretty good with trail toes before starting, so hopefully it'll get me through the race without having to change any shoes. But it's getting hard, guys. No doubt about it. I'm really starting to hurt now. Okay, so just past the last aid station. It was the aid station supposed to be 21 miles in, but I'm already over 24. So I'm 3 miles longer than the course. Still walking, still trying to finish within cutoff. But it's just a big mental blow on top of everything going on between the mud and taking the wrong turn, being what should be like 7 miles away from the finish, and I'm 11 miles away from the end of the course. So still moving. I got some food. I've been munching on some stuff just past the aid station, like I said. So nothing left to do it, I guess, but to do it. So we're here, we're doing it. It's just gonna be a long day out here. So far 6 hours and 20 minutes. All right, so I just hit 25 miles. Oh, this is so hard. Hopefully there's less than 10 miles to go at this point. But I have to keep just telling myself and reminding myself, you know, this is exactly why I wanted to do this. And this is exactly what the whole plan was all along. I just wish I didn't make that wrong turn so it wouldn't have been as bad. But it's gonna get really tough here in the next couple hours, but that's why I'm doing it. Okay, y'all, I'm really struggling. Almost 27 miles in. I can't keep anything underneath a 16 minute per mile right now, which I guess is still averaging at least a 3.5 mile per hour walk. But I still have so far to go. So let me know in the comments if you're still watching, and I really appreciate it if you've made it this far. But let me know in the comments, when was the last time you really pushed yourself? For me, like right now, I've been really hurting for the past hour, and I still have at least 7 or 8 more miles to go. Oh my goodness. So yeah, let me know in the comments, last time you really pushed yourself. All right, well, I just got back to the big bridge over the water, which is where I made the screw up and turned myself around too soon. I'm at 29.6 miles, and this bridge is 5.5 to the finish. So it'll be just over 35 miles total, but 5.5 miles to go, and then today will be over. Oh, what a fight. But like I said, that's exactly what I wanted. This is what replicating the ending stages of a 100-miler will feel like. So productive day so far, at least. All right, so I'm at 32 miles into today, which should have been the end of the race, but I still have about 3 more miles to go. I'm actually feeling a little bit better now than I was before. I'm still not moving as fast as I was at the beginning, but you know, I was hurting and kind of in a pout earlier on. Now I feel kind of better. This mud, though, as you can still probably hear, is just insanely difficult to navigate through. But less than an hour remains until I finish up this race, and the day will be over. So just a little bit left from here on out. So I don't know if you can see, like, way over there on the other side of the lake, but I think that might be where the finish line is. So we have to work our way all the way around this side of the lake here. A few more miles to go. I'm pretty sure that's the boat ramp that we started at, way down on the other side right there. As I wrapped up these last final trail miles of the Mountains to Sea 50k race, I thought back and reflected on the entire day as a whole and exactly what I learned throughout these past 9 hours. It's been quite the journey, and I thank you for joining me. As I finish things up, I want to leave you with a little challenge for yourselves. Alright, well, here I am, 34 miles into the race. Got back to the road. I'll be done here in about 15 to 20 minutes. And before I switch over to the finish line footage, I want to just end real quick with just a little note. So for any of you that are still watching, first of all, thank you, but I want to give you a little challenge, and I want to have you in some way document one of the biggest lessons you've learned from your next race or main event, if you don't run races. But if you have a big goal or a big objective that you're working towards, I want you to either write it down, record it as I'm doing now, start a blog, or write it down electronically or in a notebook or anything. But the biggest lesson that you've learned from doing that task, because I think it's super important to be able to look back and reflect and be able to read, rewatch, or you know, witness what you've done yourself and let that serve as internal motivation for you to get back out there and do it again. So for me, for this race, biggest thing I learned was that if you're persistent and you maintain motivation and drive, and even if it's just walking, if you got a lot of miles left to walk to finish up a race, if you're persistent enough, it's surprising how much ground you can cover. Right now I've just crossed literally 9 hours and 8 seconds with over 34 miles. So if the time permits itself, don't you quit and just keep walking. Things will get better. You'll go up, you'll have some ups, you'll have some downs, but that's what I've learned. If you're persistent, you will get it done. It might not be what you expected or what your goal was for the event, but just ask yourself, how bad do you really want it? How much work have you put in to get to where you are? And if it's meaningful enough to you, just keep walking, walk it out, and you'll see the finish line. So like I said, I've got about 15 minutes probably at this point, and I'll be finishing up just over 9 hours for the day. So I'll check in with you guys later at the finish. See ya. All right, here we are. Here's the finish. I might have to mute the audio for copyright reasons, but also record me coming in through the finish. Almost there.
Here we go, one more time. Set that GoPro, you want to remember every step of these 50 miles here, 50K. Sporting a 9 hours, 16 minute, 24 second, 50K, averaging 17:56 a mile. And he'll be showing you all 9 hours of that later on tonight.
All right, so that was the MST 50K, finished it up. I got like 35.4 miles. So overall, I had a good time. You know, I'm pretty happy with the result. I'm glad I committed to everything that my initial plan was, and continued all the way through. I never took a single step of running. Still finished it up. Don't feel terribly too bad. My feet are pretty mangled from all the mud, but last little thing I'll leave you guys with is just don't ever underappreciate all those racers that are in like the last 10-15% of the race, because you know, they're out here for a long time, and it kind of made me appreciate those who finished in the last few spots of the race. They're still hurting, they're still suffering, but they're out here for just so much longer. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. I'll put some more ultramarathon videos that I've done up on the screen for you guys to watch. This is my 25th ultramarathon since I started running ultras a couple years ago. So it was a good one. I enjoyed it. John, if you're ever watched this point of the video, I really appreciate. The challenge was everything that I hoped it would be, and some with all the mud. But all right, that'll do it. So in whatever you do, just do your best, and the best will always happen. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.